Welcome back everyone, my name is Michael and today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of irritating Reddit posts involving entitled people. Make sure to like and subscribe and let's get into it. This first post was created in February 2023 and is titled, "My Aunt Stole My Inheritance. Then Karma Struck and Her Life Fell Apart. Sorry if anything is misspelled, I have horrific dyslexia. My aunt was one of two kids my grandparents had. My mother was the polar opposite of my aunt. She worked from the age of 12 in my grandfather's shop, never asked for anything, and eventually managed to start her own business. My aunt never held down a job till the age of 26 and was constantly stealing from her parents and was constantly in trouble. Despite this, my aunt was spoiled by my grandmother and so were her kids. She had 3 kids from 3 different men and her first husband was not one of them, if you know what I mean. Didn't matter what my aunt or her kids did, my grandmother would always jump to their defense. She never had time for my mom and her kids unless it was to get something from us. The only reason my mom would visit her was because she loved my grandfather. My grandfather passed away in 2004, and a few months later, my nan decided to write up a new will. My mother and my aunt were both present for it when she signed it, so they knew what was in it. It made it so that when she passed away, her home would be sold and the money would be split 25% each to my mom and aunt, and the remaining 50% would go evenly to the grandkids. At the time, the home was worth more than £500,000, so it would be a nice little inheritance, but nothing life-changing. In 2010, my mom died after an accident and did not have a current will in place. As she no longer had her business and was renting a house, she didn't have anything of much monetary value. The only thing she was concerned about was what would be done at her funeral should she have passed away, but had told me everything she wanted. The music, the flowers, the coffin color, and even what people were to wear at the funeral. She wanted people to wear bright, warm colors. So when she passed, my aunt and nan took over all the arrangements and tried to undo all the things I'd told them. The songs were going to be songs I knew Mum didn't like. The flowers were all the wrong colors and they picked a hideous coffin. With the help of my siblings, we were able to change a few of the things back to what they were supposed to be, but the coffin couldn't be changed for some reason and my nan refused to let people come dressed as clowns, so it was all black. It was frustrating. After the funeral, my nan had her will changed. My siblings and I were told by our aunt that she didn't have any involvement with the writing of the will. Our nan told us that she changed it so that Mum's share would go to her kids instead. All good, we thought. After Mum passed away, my nan just stopped talking about my mum. At first we thought it was because she was still recovering from losing her daughter, but even 5 years after Mum passed, she still wouldn't talk about her. Even if you brought up a story about Mum, Nan would very obviously try and change the subject, usually about how hard my aunt and her shitty kids had it, and if you went to talk to her about your own problems, she would somehow bring it back to my aunt. I had suffered a mental breakdown after my mum's death, so you can imagine how much it hurt to hear, well, X has had it so much worse. In 2016, my nan passed away. She had written down what she wanted to be done for her funeral, and it was basically all the same things she had picked out for my mum's funeral, even the music to be played. I don't know why she tried to have a dress rehearsal funeral using my mum as the stand-in, but it was obvious that's what she was trying to do. So after a couple of months, our siblings and I were waiting to hear about the will reading, and my aunt kept telling me, oh, it'll be another month before we can do the reading. I didn't mind. I wasn't fussed about the money, to be honest, but my oldest brother was hoping to use the money to pay for a honeymoon for him and his then fiance, and my younger brother was about to start uni, so it would be a hell of a help. Eventually, my dad bumped into the solicitor my grandmother had used to deal with her will and asked what was happening. The solicitor let slip that the will had already been read and that it left everything to my aunt. When my dad questioned this, the solicitor told him that my aunt had been present when the will was written, despite promising that she had nothing to do with it. When confronted, my aunt initially tried to deny, but eventually admitted to lying to all of us. She showed us the will and it confirmed what we already knew. The house and all its contents were now my aunt's. This included my granddad's war medals he received from World War II. When I told her that he had promised them to me before he died, she said, well, unless you have it in writing, you will have nothing in this house. Anyway, I already gave them Clive. My heart sank. Clive was her eldest son and the dictionary definition of a up. He'd been in and out of prison for stealing and dealing drugs. I knew that the moment that prick had got his hands on my granddad's medals, they would have been sold off. We looked into taking her to court over the will, but everyone we spoke to said that we probably wouldn't get anything out of it. She immediately put the house up for sale at close to £750,000. She had pissed off too many people in our town, so she was going to sell the house and move closer to her daughter, who lives in a big city. An offer was made on the house, and she put down a deposit on a house near the big city, and I thought that was that. Here's where karma comes into play. The people who wanted my Nan's house had a survey done on the house to see if there were issues. And oh boy, turns out that the land the house was built on was way too soft for the type of house it was, and it was sinking. It has sunk about 2 centimeters in the 40 plus years my Nan and Granddad had lived there, but the sinking was accelerating. This meant that within the next 3 years, the house would need some serious work or be knocked down. The new value of the house was £60,000. The buyers immediately pulled out, having not even put down a deposit. She couldn't sell her new house, but still had to pay the deposit on it. And while this was happening, she let Clive move in with her into the house that she rented from the council. He wasn't allowed to live in any of the council houses because he had trashed every single one he'd ever been given. Someone reported this and she was kicked out of her home. She was forced to move into my Nan's old home as she couldn't live anywhere else. So there she is, living in a crumbling house with her shithead son and her partner. She was stuck there for 2 years. Every time I saw her, she would try and start talking to me, and I would just ignore her and walk off. One time, as I was walking away, she screamed, "Your mother deserved to die for having a like you," in the middle of a busy street. Someone reported her to the police, and she had an official warning from them and was ridiculed on Facebook. Every time I saw her after that, she looked more and more miserable. Eventually, she sold the house for around £85,000 and moved in with her daughter in the big city. I lost contact with her and her kids after this. I thought karma had been issued, but it turns out karma still wasn't done with her. I bumped into one of her former friends, and she told me what happened after she left our town. She moved into her daughter's home, who I will call Sue, but they only had a 3-bedroom house and 3 kids. My aunt and her partner had to live in the smallest room in the house while my aunt looked for a job and a home to rent. Even with £85,000, she couldn't afford a home anywhere. After about a month, my aunt's partner ran off after emptying her account. She was left stranded in Sue's house, not contributing anything because all the money she makes goes into bingo. Eventually, Sue and my aunt got into a screaming match, and my aunt said something along the lines of, "I should have aborted you." Sue immediately kicked her out of her house. So again, there's my aunt in a city where she knows nobody, no money, no home, and the last bridge she had was a smoldering wreck. Last anyone had heard, she was living in a caravan in the roughest part of the city, and she could no longer work because she was suffering from early onset arthritis and could no longer move her hands. I know I shouldn't get joy out of something like this happening to another person, but it does bring me some peace as to what happened. The post serves as a reminder of how entitled and greedy some people in the world can be. Whenever money is involved, it's always best to educate yourself on every little thing that is happening with it so you do not get taken advantage of. Never simply trust anyone's words without proof in these situations. But it was very satisfying to hear that the aunt's life was effectively ruined in the end. This next post was made in February of this year by user ThrowAwayTheChicken9. It's titled, "My sister-in-law is stealing from me and using her baby as an excuse." Hello again, Reddit. I didn't think I'd be back to this throwaway, but here I am. My sister-in-law, Jessica, who is 29 years old, and her husband, my brother, Liam, who is 32, are staying with me, 27-year-old female, and my wife, who is 30. They're having issues with their home. Simply put, she's been an absolute nightmare when it comes to taking things that aren't hers and brushing them off because she needs them due to her baby / my nephew, Liam Jr. I'll just list the worst of it, but do note that this is a very condensed list. She took my expensive hair products made specifically for thick hair because, and I quote, "Liam Jr. can't handle strong scents, and yours are just gentler on his nose." She used an entire 16-ounce bottle of conditioner in 3 days. I caught her trying to take the food I ordered for everyone into her room after it was delivered. I ordered almost 6 full meals to dish out for the entire house, and she was just holding this large paper bag in her room. She told me she was just sorting through it to find her food, but she was sitting down with chopsticks and the door was closed, so I called it BS. My pantry has a shelf labeled specifically for me due to a mild food allergy. It contains all the snacks that I bought. I keep seeing her walking back and forth past my room with my snacks. If my wife or I try to confront her, she cries that she's breastfeeding and needs the energy, then she'll get my brother to chew me out. For the record, we do have a communal snack bin, but she won't touch the snacks in there. She took my gift card stash from my shelf in the kitchen and spent nearly $75 on random BS because she claimed she wanted to make the room more comfortable for her son. I use those gift cards when I go shopping or as presents for sudden events. She knows this and still took 6 to 8 gift cards out with her. It's been nonstop for the last 3 weeks and I'm so done with her. She's taken my hair ties, my shirts from the laundry, my sleep bonnets, and my lipstick. She even took a bottle of my apple cider gummies, which I know she doesn't like because she's tried them before. I feel like she's doing it just to spite me or to assert herself, but I'm seriously considering kicking her out. Edit, I just wanted to clarify that Jessica used my shampoo on herself, not her son, because the smell was, I guess, irritating him. Edit 2, I'm just going to state the only reason I'm letting these two stay is because of the baby. My brother can't afford housing close to his job, and if I kick him out, Liam Jr.'s housing would be up in the air. His commute is already 45 to 60 minutes each way, and none of our relatives are willing to let him stay. Secondly, please do not insult my wife in the comments. She was recently promoted and isn't home often, but I assure you, she sticks up for me when she's home. She has told me she's willing to let them stay for Liam Jr., but has shown that she's upset by Jessica's stealing. I'm sorry I didn't say that before. Edit 3. I've been reading through the comments during my work break and I keep seeing the same things being tossed around. Even the comments that were harsh are right. Jessica stomped on both mine and my wife's boundaries, using her son as a cover, and I'm being spineless by letting her stay. I also have to accept that Liam Jr. is not my responsibility. As much as I love him, I can't let his mom use him against me. I talked with my wife on her phone today, and we've decided that we're telling them to start seeking alternative housing. We're also going to get a proper eviction drafted up. We've decided they have until Friday the 17th at the absolute latest. I will update after we've talked. Thank you all for knocking some sense into me. Edit 4. We had the talk with them about an hour ago and it went bad fast. My brother was screaming, Jessica was screaming, Liam Jr. was crying because of all the noise, and somehow that's my fault. They yelled for a good 40 minutes about how they had nowhere else to go and they won't be able to stay together if I kick them out. It was hard for me, but my wife helped me with my stress. Here are some highlights from Jessica's rant. You can't have a baby, you'll never know how stressed I am. You didn't lose anything super expensive, why are you acting like this? And my personal favorite, if you kick us out, you'll never see me or my son again. I told them that our decision was final and Jessica locked herself in her room with her son. My brother tried to apologize, saying that he was just stressed from work and the baby and Jessica putting pressure on him, but my wife cut him off and told him to imagine how stressed I'd been when my things went missing. He just kind of slumped in his seat and then joined Jessica in the room after I denied his pleas to stay again. I heard them arguing for a bit, but only for around 15 minutes. I got a text from Jessica's mother asking what was happening, but it wasn't hostile, so I don't think she has the full story. I'm debating telling her since she's technically not involved yet. I've gotten 3 or 4 similar messages from numbers I don't recognize, so I think Jessica may have told people my number or posted something. Jessica and Liam woke me and my wife up by clambering around about 20 minutes ago. They didn't say much while they packed up their stuff, but Jessica did say, "I hope you're happy now. Don't expect to see Liam Jr. anytime soon." I didn't feel good when they left. I felt awful. My stomach was in knots and my chest was burning. I should feel happy, but I don't. All I can do is worry. I just feel useless. I feel like a useless wife, like a useless aunt and sister. I was trying to help and now I might not see my nephew again. I went out of my way and now it feels like I'm being punished. I'm pretty sure they'll try something again, but it's not my concern anymore. My brother left his spare key in the kitchen, but I'm still changing the locks. Jessica texted me that Liam is going to be staying in a motel near his job till they figure something else out, and she's going to be stuck with her mother. You were all right that I needed to have them gone, but I wish I didn't feel so damn bad. My wife has been comforting me as best she can, and I appreciate her so much. She's been so supportive, and I'm lucky to have her. Thank you all for listening, commenting, etc. It was the extra push I needed to knock my stupid head on straight. Edit 5. Jessica's mother contacted me, apologized for her daughter, and offered to pay me the value of the items stolen if I let her and Liam Jr. move back in. I told her no, and she was surprisingly kind and accepting of this. The call was very short, but I can only assume Jessica told her mother some short or watered down version of what happened. I think things are settling down now. I also got a text from my brother, but it only said that he was safe at the motel. Edit 6. Me and my wife have decided to send my brother a bill for the items Jessica stole. The exact number is a bit touch and go as we don't know the value of some items. We're going to send it tomorrow and I'll update you on what happens. Edit 7, sorry I was away for so long. There was a sudden death in my family. They were someone we dearly cared for, and Reddit was the last thing on my mind. I've taken time, and I believe an update is in order now that I'm in a better headspace and everything cooled down. Jessica and Liam received the bill that I sent over text, and they promptly blocked me. Jessica ranted on Facebook and Instagram about how I'm supposedly separating them on purpose, dragging her name and forcing her into an unsafe home. All three things are untrue, obviously, but a few family members did reach out to get details. After that, Jessica posted about Liam Jr. needing a better home to stay in as the place she's currently in isn't baby-proofed. This entire drama was suddenly halted with the death of our family member, but Jessica did recently start a vague posting about being separated from her husband for too long, so that might start something. My brother has been radio silent since blocking me, but that's across all platforms. He was much closer to the relative than I was. I am really happy that OP was able to make the decision with her partner to kick Jessica out. If they weren't, the situation was guaranteed to get worse. I had a similar situation in the past with a family member who frequently overstepped boundaries. The entire situation is a headache to deal with, but the sooner you rip the band-aid off, the sooner your life will get back to normal.